All right. Hi, everyone watching. For our next session, I'm really excited to dig into this. We are talking about how integrators can stay profitable amid rising costs. And joining me for this session is Graham Kelly and also Jeremy Cotteroli. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, first of all, Graham, why don't you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure thing. Glad to. Firstly, thanks, Steph and the rAVe team for having me join here. Graham Kelly, Director of Sales at TD SYNNEX. Been at TD SYNNEX now coming up on 12 years, serving in a few different capacities, but as of late, I have the honor of leading our AV sales team.
Perfect. Jeremy, what about you?
My name is Jeremy Cotteroli, Vice President Global Supply Chain at AVISPL. So I lead our warehousing, logistics, inventory, import-export, fleet teams. Supply chain is obviously wide-ranging. So, we've got a centralized group globally. So I lead that to ensure that we're all on the same page wherever in the world we're making our deliveries.
Awesome. Well, you're kind of are the perfect two guys to have on this conversation. So I'm excited to dig in. So this is kind of for whoever wants to answer this first. I think that integrators today are very clearly facing a lot of like financial and operational pressures out there. A few of those are like tight budgets, rising material costs. So I'd love if you guys could kind of speak to what we're seeing on the market right now and how that is affecting integrators out there.
Sure. Jeremy, if you want to jump in first.
Sure, yeah, no problem. You named some of the big ones right there. I think beyond that, just inflation all around, right? And being able to account for that. I mean, that's in materials, it's in labor. So just being smart about how we approach increasing costs in all of those different categories. But at the same time, thinking about it from the customer's point of view, I think that we're seeing a lot more situations where our customers expect us to help them save money as well. So it's becoming much more important to have that strategic partnership with customers, which I do think has a ton of benefits even beyond this. But I think a lot of our customers are really expecting that now versus us just proactively getting ahead of it by offering that.
Yeah, and I think those are some great points, right? And we're looking at the same picture from a different lens, but from the distribution side, we're still seeing a strong market, and we're hearing that from our partners as well. But I do think those procurement timelines are different, right? You're seeing some pause, some more thought going into those volume deals. So at TD SYNNEX, it's always been our goal to take cost out of the supply chain. But I think, to Steph and Jeremy's points in this environment, some of the offerings that we bring to the market are even more relevant, whether that be traditional warehousing and inventory, right, or all the way to some financial solutions that are helping folks navigate these different times that, some of you mentioned. We're all in this together trying to figure out the best way to stay ahead.
Absolutely. And we're going to dig into some of those best ways to stay ahead, those best ways to stay profitable. So Jeremy, I'd love if you could kind of talk about some smart supply chain and inventory management strategies that others can learn from.
Yeah, I think it's really important now more than ever to have really close partnerships with suppliers like TD SYNNEX, for example. And actually having, again, not just that transactional approach, but actually understanding what are our strengths, what are your strengths, how can we lean on each other, specifically as it relates to things like tariffs. So not just getting into an argument with vendors and customers over who's paying tariffs and surprise tariff charges, but being upfront about things like, hey, this is what's going to happen if the tariff rate goes up. Here's what happens if it goes down. How can we work together to avoid any kind of tariffs, whether it's ordering early or delaying an order or ordering in different methods or from different countries. When you have that relationship with your suppliers and can have open communication, it opens the doors for so many other strategies.
Yeah, I think, Jeremy's spot on there, right? The past few quarters, we've heard more about tariffs than any of us probably would have ever thought or definitely wanted to, right? But, I think one example that I could point to of how TD SYNNEX is helping, AVISPL and many other manufacturers is our customer-owned product program, right? So that's our offering where customers can procure product from us. And, we would, of course, love it if they're buying everything from us. But if there's something they're sourcing directly or, even from another source, they can still bring that into one of our 14 warehouses throughout the country, and bring in the product that they're sourcing from us, or maybe not, bringing that together, and we're able to kit those solutions out and then help manage that rollout, right? And then more specifically, you talked about tariffs. When there was so much talk around upcoming price changes, things like that, a lot of our partners were leveraging our customer-owned product program to get ahead of those changes and know that they already had a certain amount of inventory in relevant regions, and then again, we can support with our carriers or the partners carriers, and that is definitely been one way that we've helped kind of navigate tariffs, and then even outside of tariffs, right? Just more configurative rollouts for end users.
Absolutely. I'd love if you could also talk, Graham, a little bit about like other things like financing programs and creative payment structures as well that integrators can utilize.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think, what we just talked about and financial solutions go hand in hand, right? Because, folks are trying to get ahead of different price increases, tariffs, shortages, things like that. We understand that a lot of these situations call for creative financial solutions. And that's why at TD Synnex, we bring Amplify to the table and to the market. So that's a financial solution for us that allows folks to tailor those extended term needs, right? And it really offers a case-by-case basis. So you come across a deal, bring that to us, we'll include our team, and we could even flex that out to net 120 in certain cases. And an example of that would be, in the public sector and that education space, there's a lot of need for specific terms, which are usually longer, right? Not shorter. So, we bring that Amplify program to the table, and we've seen a lot of success with folks leveraging that to meet their customers' needs.
Absolutely. And Jeremy, from your side, basically, like, I'm interested to just like, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but just a little bit more about how AVI SPO kind of balances efficiency and quality. And that's another kind of key factor in staying profitable as well.
Yeah, so I think that anytime standardization and scalability are required, some form of centralization is going to be necessary, whether that's a very small group that's just kind of advising, or it's just a complete centralization of an entire organization. I think that that's required in order to get to an actual standardized process or strategy. And just as an example, our global supply chain team, which we're fairly new, probably about 3 years old. We started off with 2 people. It was me and one other person, and we're up to over 100 individuals on the global supply chain team now globally. Some of that was just reorganization of people that originally reported somewhere else, but we brought in every supply chain employee so that we're all working together. We're all learning the same lessons. We're learning from any failures, but then we're also implementing the same strategies at the same time. And it's made us extremely efficient in our ability to say, hey, we just discovered that doing warehousing a certain way differently for a certain piece of the process, we want to make a change there. We can roll that out globally in extremely quick amount of time. So we've seen a lot of success with that. And then just a specific operational example is our quality control center initiative. So that's being led by Chris Walston at the AVI-SPL side. We're actually putting in place these large facilities that are going to centralize fabrication and commissioning and kitting and different things like that, so that we're controlling it almost like an assembly line within a manufacturing company, and have a lot of control over KPIs and quality assurance. And again, just working from the same playbook in a small number of larger locations that will kind of fuel the region that they're in.
Absolutely. I'd love to also talk to both of you about managed services for a little bit, because I think that we're seeing on the market a lot of everyone is kind of leaning toward a service or subscription-based model. And a lot of times, where do you guys see that coming in here? Do you see managed services as a way to help stabilize cash flow? Where do you see that fitting in? And, whoever wants to answer that first.
I could jump in. So I think that we look at it a little bit differently, not just specifically from the cash flow as the focus, but again, kind of bringing it back to that focus on strategic partnerships with customers. I think that when that's the focus and we want to understand with our customers, how can we have a really good long-term relationship together where we both win from this? that results in not just doing a job and walking away, but having services associated with it, or other offerings down the road that are different from even those. I think when that's the focus on the entire picture of what do you need as a customer, long term, I think that the cash flow kind of answers itself, because you've now got an ongoing relationship versus, hey, we're just going to work towards the next transaction. That's not ever how we want to operate.
Right.
Yeah, and I think those are great points, of course, and I think that boils down to what Jeremy mentioned. It's more than just a transaction, right? You're working with folks that usually you like, but also that you trust and that are going to execute as expected. And Jeremy mentioned learning from his customers, and we're doing the same thing. Again, we're learning from him, right, and what they're learning. So we have a very mature field services business, and that goes from anything from installation to integration all the way to site surveys, and then even heat mapping for networking opportunities, right? And you talk about that learning piece of, we're continually tailoring our offerings to ensure that the pricing models are competitive by region, right? Because, you try to uniform your offerings, and then sometimes that's not always the best answer. So, in those situations that it's more configurative, we would create a scope of work. We would assign a project manager that would work hand in hand with, AVISPL or another partner's project manager, just to ensure those timelines and budgets are met. So, I think services, when done correctly, can create a great long-standing partnership.
Kind of based on that, then, Graham, and I'm going to ask you this too, Jeremy, but where do you guys see the next evolution then in integrator profitability based on everything that's out there?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, and I think depending on the integrator or even distributor that you ask, you probably get a different answer there. But if you were able to attend our annual summit Inspire a few weeks back, or even a little before that at Envision, another event that we hosted, we're doubling and tripling down on AI, right? And some folks may be rolling their eyes. More AI, that's kind of a buzzword, but we're really looking at how can you monetize that? How can it help drive efficiency? So just a few weeks back, we did launch our Partner First platform. So that's a unified shopping experience that is really created to not only simplify, but accelerate and personalize how partners engage in the channel. So that includes AI dashboards with customized trends and how you're buying and what you're buying, and showing patterns, and hopefully that's driving efficiencies for folks as they're working through those procurement processes. And it also provides a consolidated cart, kind of to go full circle when you're talking about whether it be hardware, licenses, or even renewal opportunities. We've now brought that all into one place to hopefully simplify, that procurement leads and his team or her team's jobs, as they're seeing everything in one place, making sure that they're checking off every box, not missing anything. So you're going to hear more and more about Partner First as we continue to roll that out. So we're very excited to kind of not just talk about AI, but to show a real world, real life case of how it can help our partners.
Yeah. Jeremy, same question. Where do you see the next evolution being?
So I actually want to add a little bit to the AI point before I go to mine, but I think that there is going to be a heavy divergence. It's not just in the AV industry, but just everywhere around companies that they actually approach AI from the point of view of, we just want to use AI. I don't care where it goes or what it does. We just want to have AI in the process, versus companies that say, we are going to understand AI. We're going to have, a group that actually looks at where we can apply it from a solutions and results standpoint, versus we just want to get it in place so we can say that we have it. So right. I think there's going to be a huge divergence of those two things. And it's going to become very clear which side companies are on. And just kind of beyond AI, I would think sustainability. I mean, that's becoming a very, very big focus point with customers, with partners. I mean, everybody is talking about sustainability, especially in our industry. We have a great potential to get much better when we talk about electronics recycling, for example. I think the most recent stat I saw is around 75% of electronics recycling is not done correctly. It's not recycled at all. So there's a huge room for growth there. And, bringing it back to partnering with customers and understanding what they value, we heard that from our customers a lot, is they said, we want a sustainable partner for our AV solutions. And so we went out, and within a year, we built the industry's probably most robust e-waste program, at least in the US for now, and we're rolling it out globally, where we've got dozens of partners that can recycle our equipment responsibly all across the US. And that's just a result of listening to customers and starting to embrace that wave before it becomes a legal requirement in a lot of these countries. So getting ahead of that curve, there's a huge advantage there.
No, that's really, really awesome. And that's a really great point. I will add that a lot of the work that rAVe, that organization, is doing is same thing. They're really doing a lot in that space as well, but that's awesome.
Definitely.
So final thing for each of you, Graham, I'll start with you. For those who are watching today, what is one thing that you want them to take away from this conversation?
Sure. I think, if we boiled it down to one takeaway, I would really want that to be that TD SYNNEX's entire goal is to leverage our resources and our infrastructure to stand our partners up, right? If our partners don't win, we don't win. So whether that be, some of the things we mentioned around customer-owned product program, financial solutions to get those extended terms when needed, and then again, leveraging our new partner-first platform, I think all of those things are proof that, we really want to stand behind our partners and help them win so that we can ultimately reach that mutual growth that we're all seeking.
Yeah. Jeremy, same question.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is just the amount of value that can be gained by embracing the opportunity to build long-term strategic relationships, both on the customer side, but then also upstream on the supplier and vendor side as well. And again, just not thinking of that transaction and the next job level of thinking, but saying, how can we support you best? What are you looking for from a results standpoint on both sides, right? It's not just on the customer side. And that's a big culture change for a lot of organizations that's not how they think, going both directions. So bringing everybody to the table upstream and downstream and thinking, hey, what are we going to do in a year or 3 years or 5 years to overall win together? I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from this conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. Graham, where can people find you on the internet, and where can people find more information on TD SYNNEX?
Yeah, sure thing. So, of course, on LinkedIn, Graham Kelly, tdsynnex.com. And you can reach me directly, graham.kelly@tdsynnex.com. I'd love to help support through some of the things we mentioned. And if you have a dedicated SYNNEX resource, I'll be glad to connect you with that person as well.
Fantastic. Jeremy, what about you? Where can people find you, and where can people find out more about AVI-SPL?
Yeah, I mean, for me, same answer. LinkedIn, Jeremy Cotteroli. You'll probably have to copy and paste. Good luck spelling the name correctly on the first try. I'm not offended. Yeah, happy to connect with anyone there. And then for AVI-SPL, I would just recommend our website, avispl.com. There's a lot of resources there, really cool stuff, along with kind of different avenues to contact someone for further information.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being part of Launch Week 12.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us again.